Zoya. I'm gonna say Zoya.
You can call me ZY if it's
No, no, you have a name. Zoya. Zoya Ye?
Zoya Ye.
Okay,
The
Zoya
full
Ye.
name, you won't be able to say this. The last name, the full name. It's Yeramenko. You won't be able even to say that.
I'm gonna say Zoya, and I'm gonna ask for your last name when you introduce yourself because it's a very unique name.
No, no, we don't need to do that.
We need to. We need to.
Coaching in Session.
Your exclusive destination for unparalleled personal and professional growth.
With your host, Michael Rearden.
Whether you choose to live within limits or break free, your mindset journey begins here.
Zoya, welcome to Coaching in Session. I love your name, and I'm going to have you say your last name. I know you said you're not going to do it, but we are going to do it. And we're going to be talking about your work today, Success Catalyst. You have a unique journey of struggle, but then not only the struggle defined you, but the success refined you, where you decided to not live within your circumstance, but to be more pronounced, right? You decided not to allow the world to tell you how to live or who to be. You said, I'm going to be someone that the world is going to remember, and people are going to understand that anyone can do the same thing. So if you could, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and how you help people?
Thank you so much for having me. I am ZY, Zoya Yeremenko. It's
Hmm.
really unique. And I'm Success Catalyst. I'm helping people. Can you imagine like a hill and you have this ball and you're trying to get this ball over the high hill because you just need there. I'm the one who will build the tunnel through the hill and you will get there with the ball, safe, happy, and with less inner resilience.
Perfect. Yeah. And it's important to look at that. I guess you can say a depiction of how you can help someone. Some people might think you're going to help them push the ball over the hill. Some people might say, oh, we're going to dig the tunnel through the mountain. And so now we have an easier path instead of always having the struggle, right? The mountain is sometimes a struggle, but then it can also be a journey. And so love the idea of a journey in life because I say, if everything was given to you, right? And you didn't have the struggle, if you didn't have the bad moments, right? You couldn't appreciate the good moments, right? From, learning about your story a little bit, it wasn't just the good moments that, wanted me to have you on the podcast. It was the bad moments. It's not that I want you to say all the bad moments and to depict you as a victim, but I know there's so many people in the world that are going through hardship, that are going through trials, that are going through challenges. And when they do get through them, they'll be so much happier at the end of it. But sometimes during it, it could be debilitating, right? So how can a person like going through that hardship, give themselves a mindset of resilience and pushing forward still?
Thank you so much for this question. It's really good and deep questions because a lot of people they think and they're looking at the successful person in the present, in the current situation, and then just like, I cannot do that. But behind that success, behind that person, there is a huge, big story, like a hard path. You cannot wake up and become successful tomorrow. You need to work hard. You need to go there hard. You need to go through your feelings and emotions. And this is the part where a lot of people they don't know, they don't look at that level of themselves. If they have some goal, some desire, they think about actions that need to be taken, but they don't care about their feelings and emotions. And as a success catalyst, first what we do in our private sessions is we are understanding who we are, what is our authentic, because there is so many people who living by social standards. The society gave us all the standards. You need to do this by this age, you need to be successful, you need to be rich, you need to be all these things, but they don't teach us who we are, how to understand our own world, what is here inside, and that is really important. And back to your question, let's touch base a little bit on my story. I am domestic violence survivor. I don't appreciate and I don't like the word victim because there is a difference. Victim is someone who decided, who chose to stay in the situation in the past, who let that what happened to them control them, their lives, their feelings, their emotions, everything, and they just completely and all the time blaming the past, the person what happened, the person who was not really nice if we're talking about the abuse, right? But survivor, it's someone who will raise and reborn as a phoenix. So this is my story. And with my own story, I would like to show everyone that everything is possible. I was left on the street by myself in a foreign country. No friends, no family, no money, just me and my car. I didn't know how I can make through today. The only thing that I was able to provide myself that was half of Subway sandwich. And just in a couple of years, look at me. I'm super, like, I'm the person who is absolutely happy, who is successful, who is now empowering others to believe in themselves, to look inside themselves through any conditions that is going on around them. Just stay still and stay calm here. What is going on here? So this is my story. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. And I'm going to just be asking a bunch of different questions. We're just be having a conversation. And you don't have to worry about answering it. It's more just about having a conversation, a real conversation. And, just answering or, speaking on what comes to you, right? What feels most appropriate. If you ever, or if a guest in general ever didn't answer a question, I wouldn't even be upset. I would say, okay, let's keep moving on because it's a conversation.
That's good because sometimes I start to say something and it led this conversation, like my answer somewhere else, which
Uh-huh.
I feel it gonna bring like bigger impact. And I was like, hold on, what was the question?
Well, for me, I ask questions in a very unique way where there's multiple paths that a guest can answer them. So they can have a plethora of options. And so it might feel as if that, wait, did I answer the question? Because it might not be so easy, like what color is the sky, right? We know the color of the sky, and depending on where you are too. But it's not as simple sometimes. We have to get deeper, and sometimes we have to get to the root of many of the things that we're living in. Because if we just kind of put a blanket on everything, right? So let's say we get a deep wound on our body and we have to go for surgery. But we might be afraid for surgery, or maybe we don't go for surgery. We think we'll be okay. So we just buy some band aids and we just put some band aids over us. But we need a surgery, not a band aid. We have to get down to the root, right? We have to figure out what needs to be repaired and then we begin repairing it. And I think sometimes people don't want to do the repair work. So they will
The
just kind of
stores.
cover it and then forget it, sweep it under the rug and save it for another day. And I want to, ask you, what is the importance of taking action? Because you could have stayed in your car, you could have finished up that Subway sandwich, and you could have said, "All right, let's figure out, what do I do now?" But it was more methodical. I'm sure it was like, "All right, I'm going to face my challenges. I'm going to face everything. I'm not going to say, well, this is my life, this is my circumstance." It was something that required action. It was something that required a choice on your end. And many people today, they have the ability to make the choice for something good, but they don't. So, like, how can a person get more into the mindset of making the choices that are going to lead to more success in their life?
It is multiple ways. And what led me to go and move forward, it was fear of staying where I am. I was going, there's two ways. You going towards the towards the goal, and you running away from something. So I basically was moving myself out of the situation where I was. Because I know it might sound really interesting and maybe someone will question, like, before I ended up in abusive relationships, I had this sense of self-worth. I understood everything that I did in this life. I understood my path. And when I ended up in abusive relationships, I lost myself. I lost my value. I was destroyed. And to be honest, the mindset that helped me as well, it's every situation was gave me some good reason. What was that? Why and what for? I need to learn this lesson and what exact lesson I need to learn. It's really hard. I don't want your listeners to think that, oh, yeah, sure, like I need to think about this. It's really deep and hard conversation with yourself. And when something just happened to you, when you in this emotional situation where just you just your world just was ruined, you won't be able to answer that question. Just live it through. Look at your situation and your life as a helicopter view. Withdraw yourself from your feelings, from your emotions, and look at your life like I don't know, like a god, like something is like from outside. What's going on? It's really important to ask yourself questions, to talk to yourself as a kid. Talk to your inner child. What do you need right now? What do you feel right now? How can I help you right now? What is most important for you right now? Do you feel safe? If you don't feel safe, how I can make myself feel safe? You, please listen it. You need to take responsibility for your life, for real. Not just like, yes, I'm responsible, I know, not just like that. Deeply, honestly, have this conversation with yourself. Like, are you happy with yourself? Did you really do something that you can proud of yourself? If not, change it. Please change it. And I know it's scary. Like it's unbelievably unfair to you at that moment. You feel like why world treating me this way? Why people treating me this way? But I have rights to say that because I was domestic violence survivor. I did something that led me into this situation. I'm not saying that I am wrong and that is my fault. I'm not saying this. Just I want you to understand me clear. And I'm not justifying abuser or the person who dismiss you, didn't treat you well. He is responsible for his part. I'm responsible for my part. And my responsibility was for how long I stayed there. Why I let this situation happen for this long period of the time, for this much years. Why I didn't teach myself to walk away from someone or something that disrespect me. What is that fear inside me? What I'm really afraid of? What is really stopping me? Why I don't believe in myself? Why I don't respect myself? Why I don't appreciate myself? Why I don't value myself? This is the hardest questions that you can answer. If you can answer those questions, my biggest congratulations. You are on the right path. You are moving forward. And again, please listen, it cannot be something overnight. It won't be something that you ask yourself these questions and you get an answer right away. Our brain working in a way where when he protects us from unknown, because unknown and new, it's scary. It's something that, and when you ask yourself this deepest question like, hey, baby, what's going on right now? I am afraid of being abandoned. Why? And you might, and your brain might say like this and that, and we just like calm down, and I will come back to this answer tomorrow. Give yourself a time. So this is how the deepest realization happened to you when you not overwhelming your brain because we are in charge, we are in control, we are captains of this ship. Like our brain, it's a ship. We are captains. We are riding it. And you can ask yourself the same question over and over until you will be satisfied with the answer and until you will be satisfied with the solution that you came. And mindset, it's something that luckily, you can train it. Start with the small little things. The biggest achievement that I'm proud of myself back that time is that I started celebrating small wins, small milestones, small steps. There's not enough words in this world to explain how grateful I am to myself to recognize the power of the small steps, these milestones. This approach should be implemented in any sphere of your life, not just when you are in a bad situation. When you are achieving your goal, when you're building your relationships, when you're building relationships with yourself, because relationships with yourself is the most important relationships that you need to build. Not with your partner, not with your kids, not with your parents, neighbors, co-workers, and just you. And when you will build the greatest relationship with yourself, you will see the world and people through different perspectives, through different eyes, through different mindset, and celebrating small wins, acknowledging that I am in a progress. I am going there as the the strongest, the most powerful tool that I ever implemented.
Hmm. Yeah, very true. I think back at just my failures in life. I don't need to look at the successes, but looking at the failures specifically, it could be relationships, it could be career, doesn't matter. I needed those things. I needed to know what wasn't for me, right? Because especially when you don't know, right? Love, for example, no one teaches you how to love, really. Your mom or your dad might give you a hug, grandma might give you a hug, but, that's the love that they're, just kind of exuding. But love, right? For another person, what does that mean? We can even go all the way to unconditional love. Like, what does that mean? When you start off in relationships, even for myself, you get a couple high school sweethearts and things like that. And you're like, okay, this feels good. Someone cares about me. Someone's attentive to me. Someone is interested in me. And it feels nice, right? It feels right. But then somewhere, sometimes you are going to find reasons or things that maybe the person is, you know, not exactly for you. And I look at all my relationships, and then we can go out to careers next. The girls that I was or were with, you know, even though they were great, right? They were great people. They were good, they had good hearts. You know, I couldn't marry any of them, and I asked myself why, why did I not marry them and I married my wife? It was because they had so many wonderful things, but they didn't have what I was looking for the most, right? And it was someone who was going to be there regardless, thick and thin, right? That is what I was looking for. Someone who was going to, be fully present, in the relationship, being able to communicate. Of course, we can look at the world. There's billions of people, we can say that there's multiple soulmates. There's multiple people who are out there for you. And that is very true. I don't believe that my wife's the only woman. I can go find another wife in a sense. But it's the idea that sometimes you can just be caught up in what feels good at the moment. Sometimes people, they fall into drugs and alcohol. It's not because they want to. It's because it feels good at the moment, right? The love or whatever. Then we get into careers. I was doing business and finance. Everyone of the podcast, they know I've told this story before. I'm making money, good money. I was 18, 19, and I was making more money than I'm sure I needed at that time in my life, but I was caught up in the money, right? It felt good. Like, oh, I'm making a lot of money. But that was probably the emptiest time of my life. Like in a career, I was like, the money's not what it is, right? So I had to fail. I had to go through the moments that didn't feel good. I had to go live those moments that help me learn and help me understand more fully what life truly was. Because we can say we have a nice job, we have a nice house, we have a person that loves us, and we have an episode coming out in a couple of weeks talking about this idea, but we can be connected to people and we can be attracted to people. A lot of people are attracted to money, right? They want it. They wanted to buy the houses and the cars and the clothes, but it at the end of the day, you could be 45, 50 years old, have no family, or you are just working every single day and you're not living and you find yourself not fulfilled. So there's so much to be said for what life is or what success is and the journey that you're going on. And I know there's some people who don't appreciate their journey for the bad points or the parts that they have lived. You brought about the idea of victim, right? 100% agree, right? You want to change your vernacular to how you're trying to heal or when you're trying to heal. Because if you're giving yourself terms that are anchors, a victim is an anchor term. So if you give yourself that term, sure, it's okay to use it once and then realize, wait, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor, right? I'm someone who can overcome the challenge, right? You're not someone who's going to be locked in, right? You're not a person who's put in a box and you're going to stay there forever. You can break free and you can go live, but you have to do the work to figure out what is that purpose for you. And so I wanted to ask you now, how would people figure out that purpose, right? Because you had to do the work, you had to figure out and ask the deep questions But how were you certain that, what you do or what you are doing today is your purpose and the reason why you were put on this world?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. I love this deep conversation. And how you feel inside about what you do. You said really fantastic thing about big money make you feel empty. And this is what I was referring in the beginning of our conversation. This is all the society. It's the social standards. The society wants us to be this, like a rat in a lab, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, like doing all this, like a lot of work to bring value to someone else. You happy, not happy, who cares? Who cares about your feelings? I am using you, your power, your knowledge, your body, whatever kind of work you do on, for my benefit. And people start feeling it and thinking, what is going on? So you actually understand that someone is using you and you don't have any benefits, just money. And at the end of the day, that money is not making you happy. Same happened to me. I came to this country, was nowhere, no one. Some people back that time, my ex-husband, he told me that you are a fucking immigrant. You're nothing for this country. You're no one. And that like dig deep down in my heart and my soul and my mind. I know that I have 3 degrees. I know that I'm carrying multiple certifications. I know that I speak 3 different languages. And I don't think that statement that he made is correct. And that trauma, one of those traumas that he caused me during that relationship, was like to make sure that I am not what he was thinking about me. And I get really high in the corporate America, me, with the accent, with all, like I faced it a lot of challenges. I had one job that my boss, she said, like, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough because you're immigrant and you have an accent. I faced a lot of people who was judging me because I am blonde, I am beautiful, and I wearing like red lipstick. And they're just like, you just gold digger and you're not smart, you just like using men. I faced all this, but in fact, when I showed, first of all, to myself that I am not who those people talking about me, what those people talking about me, I realized that I've lost myself in the process where I was trying to push all those limiting beliefs away. And I ended up burnout badly. So badly that I wasn't like going outside, meeting my friends, or like I didn't go to the restaurant, nothing. I was just sitting in my home for 10 months or something like that. Can you imagine that? So I just locked myself in a box just because I was burnout, because I was chasing this big money, this big dream. I get there. I'm proud of myself. And now it showed me again every bad, as we say in bad situation, some loss. It's a great lesson for us. And that led me to understand that, can you see how capable you are? Do you really understand what you just did? Being for a couple years in the country, everyone was bullying you about accent, being beautiful and whatever, pretty, and you made it by yourself through all this. It's really important how you feel here. If you don't feel fulfilled, engaged, that is not your purpose. That is not your goal. That is not where you're going to. If you're chasing money, if you're chasing big houses, fancy cars, and all these things, and you are feeling empty here, that is not your dream. That is not your purpose. That is not what will make you feel like you are present here. You're present in your own life. And what I would recommend, just to pause. Just pause and take your time for yourself. Might someone say, I have kids, I have wife, I have husband, I need to take care of that. I will try to scare you right now. If you will not take care of yourself, no one will. And by the end of the day, you will hate yourself, your life, and people who are around you. That you've been trying so hard to do as much as you can for your kids, for your family, chasing not your own values, chasing not your own goals. Take a pause. Just stop everything. Stop your life for 2 weeks. Grab your bag and, I don't know, rent some cabin or whatever. Just even go and stay in a hotel in a next city next to your house. Whatever. Just remove yourself from everything familiar, from your routine. Because you doing your routine in autopilot. It's just you woke up 5 in the morning, woke up, you need to make some sandwiches for your kids, some bread, whatever you do, your routine it's same year, every single year. And if you will be still in that routine, you won't be able to see clear and to feel clear. First of all, feelings is the most important for us, for human being. Because if we're not taking care of the feelings, it's disbalance. Because we are built this way. We have body and we have feelings here and here. And if we're not balancing all of it, we can end it up in not really happy place. So, and just feel yourself. And how there's a little small, really simple practice. What I'm always trying to give simple practices, simple things. Why? Because if we're talking about like a success catalyst, you want to change something. Your first reaction in a body would be like you would be shrink a little bit. Why? Because everything is unknown and you don't know what to do and you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to deal you're gonna deal with. You just like changes. I think I'm good here. Just whatever. I'll take care of this later, next year or in next month. It's not working like that. And you struggle with like understanding who you are. Start with your body level. Like, for example, I'm sitting like this right now, or you sitting the way you're sitting. Ask yourself, are you comfortable? Or do you want to, put your elbow somewhere here? Or do you want like cross your legs? Or do you want like, when you ask yourself and get an answer, you're just like, yes, I'm comfortable. Or no, I want to put my elbow like here, right? And you put it. In this second, in this moment, you showing your brain that changes and to follow your own desire is safe because you were sitting like this. You see, like, oh, it's really it's a little bit uncomfortable. I want this way, right? Nothing happened. Nothing. No one's like ran away. Like nothing happened. Still safe. And in this case, you train in your brain that changes. It's safe. It's good. It's comfortable. It's pleasant. I love it. I'm enjoying it. Really simple, but yet powerful thing that you can try. And I want you to try that, especially for those people who really, chasing those dreams. Again, it can be whatever. Having 5 kids or buying a great house, whatever it can be, and you not feel beautiful inside about this. You don't feel happy about this. Try this. And again, if you have more questions, just find me in any social media and say like, hey, I'm stuck. I did this. What I'm gonna do? Because it's unique for everyone. Someone would need to answer more questions. Someone need like practices as a meditation. Someone need to read some book, or it can be different. So start with asking yourself, what do you want right now? And for those who will dedicate himself or herself to this practice, I would recommend to set up an alarm every 3 hours. Every 3 hours, you just like, do you feel comfortable? Or what do you want right now? Because you won't believe this. There's so many people through my clients when they do not go using the restroom, when they really want it. They just sitting there and waiting till the last moment.
Mhm.
And here where all the roots begins. We are not following our own needs. just basic ones, the simple ones. And every 3 hours, you're gonna, okay, what do I want? Where I am right now? What I feel? Or like what I can be happy for. There's multiple questions you can ask yourself. And you like start with what do I want? Answer the question, and you will see the progress by the end of the month if you will keep doing that like every day. You won't recognize yourself. I promise you. I guarantee you. It's really simple, but it's powerful.
Changing your life is simple on paper, right? But
Oh,
to
yeah.
do it, change is difficult. It's the aspect of change, right? To get away from the familiar. This is why some people they get stuck in their jobs, they get stuck in their relationships because it felt comfortable, right? Of course, we always have the ability to move. We're not comfortable right now. Let's move our body. Let's put up our arm. Let's lay down. If we're thirsty, let's get something to drink. But we have to change, right? Like we have to do something in order for us to, remedy what we're looking to change. So if we are thirsty, we don't want to be thirsty. If we're hungry, we don't want to be hungry anymore. But will you get up is the question, right? And this is the question for many people, right? Will you change? Will you get up? Will you do something different, right? You talked about routines. Like, will you change
You
what you're
will.
doing right now so you can get something different? And I always say, let's say you have a house and your house is 1,500 square feet. And let's say you have a lot of junk in your house, right? Like you're a hoarder. You have all this stuff. It's hard to walk in your home because you have all these boxes and all of these clothes and all of this furniture. It's too much, right? This is too much. You have a couple options. You can get a bigger house and you can fill it with more junk, or you can clean up. You can get rid of the things that are no longer serving you. And I think people are so afraid to let go of what doesn't serve them, even themselves. I think of the movie Peaceful Warriors, a book also. There was a scene in the movie and
Love
in the
this movie.
book, it talked about how he had to let go of his ego. And the ego was what was holding him back, right? That was literally going to pull him off to the edge, or was going to be his demise if he didn't say, I have to let you go, right? It was the ego that he had to let go. And sometimes we have to let certain things go in our life. It could be the people that we think we love or the people that we love, right? It could be the materialistic things that we might have worked so hard for, or it could just be some of the mindsets that we developed that are no longer bringing us any benefit. We have to be able to discern what we need right now. Because if your house burned down, and God forbid it does, I don't want it to, but if it burned down, what do you need right now?
It's true.
Because there's a lot of things that you might think about. What was in that house again? Where was all that 1,500 square foot junk, in that house? You might think of your bed. You might think of some clothes. You might think of mementos for family. But then what else, right? Like what else truly matters to you, right? Is it a piece of paper, right? Is it your jewelry? Maybe if it has some like level of meaning, maybe from your grandmother or grandfather, something like that. It could be that, but oftentimes it's not, right? It's the memories that bring about happiness, not the memories that bring about, negative feelings, right? I think of one of my teachers. She taught English in high school. And she asked us this question. She says, what would you do if your house burned down? You can get one thing. And what would you go get? I said, my computer, because my computer had all my pictures on it. She said she would get her photo albums. And so she has all her photo albums like in a box. And so she would just get those because those can never be replaced.
That's true.
And there's things in life that can't be replaced, right? You can't be replaced. Your time can't be replaced. But what you can do is you can change the way you're thinking and the way you're moving. So you can think about the things that can't be replaced and start living fully within them. Because many people don't pay attention to their mom or their dad while they're still alive. But when they're dead and gone, they might say, I miss my mom, I miss my dad, maybe. I miss my grandma, I miss my grandpa. But how much time did you spend with them? Were you truly present when you were with them? Or maybe you're on your phone. Or maybe you were just doing something. Maybe you were too busy with work, and it happens to us all, right? Life can get very busy, right? But if you can slow down, very similar to setting that alarm, as you said, 3 hours, a brilliant idea to check in, right? It could be every hour. It could be every 5 minutes, whenever or how long, depending on what you need, right? Because maybe you find yourself, you fall apart at 1 hour and you need to check in at 1 hour. Maybe you can do that 3 hours, right? Where you're focused for that 3 hours are doing exactly what you need. You need that reminder to check in. How do I feel? Right? Do I feel good?
Let me please add, why 3 hours? Why not every hour? You can do every hour because when you're just starting, if you have like problems with identifying what you want, and I say like just do it. It's scary. It's uncomfortable. I don't want to do that. But every 3 hours, it's a safe time frame where you will relieve this micro stress. You will be already ready. Like what I'm hold on.
I'll help you out. So as I as I was
It's a safe amount of time between like next stress.
I know exactly what you're saying, but going to what I was saying and what you were saying, I believe, is there is a comfortable time that's appropriate for the mind. There's things that you can do very similar to how you said we can take small steps, right? And it might seem so small in the beginning, but then it compounds. For example, saving money every month. You might think, oh, I don't want to save $10 a month. But guess what? $10 at the end of the year for the month will be 120 and a couple of cents, right? Because of your investment you put in saving, depending on what type of investments or savings you're putting in, right? But if you keep it for 30 years, it's going to be way more than just the amount you put in every single month because of the compound interest. And it's very similar to the small steps you do. The small steps will create the habits, the disciplines, and that will be your compound interest for change. So you can do an hour, you can do 3 hours, you could do 5 hours, you could do 10 hours, but the small steps that you take every single day to pay attention is what's going to help you long term. So it's better to pay attention in the areas of what feels comfortable for you that you're going to do it rather than saying, oh, wait, I'm going to do it for a week. I'm going to do it for a month. And then you fall off. That's the one thing you don't want. You
Yeah.
want to find the best appropriate time for you that works for you. Now, I don't know what time works for you without working with you. I'm sure the same thing with Zoya. She has to be able to know you to say, hey, you do really good at 3 hours. Let's stay there. But maybe you do really good at 5 hours. So we can maybe push it there. All right. So I think it's important that, you have to understand yourself, and is even reminiscent of the things you said. You have to, sit down with yourself and ask yourself those questions, right? Like, are you doing the right things? Are you the person that, you would like to be, etc. And we go down the list, right? And it's the same thing of if you're showing up every single day. And if you're not showing up, right, can you be accountable and say, I'm not showing up. I'm not doing my check-ins. I'm not doing what is going to bring about love and goodness in my life. It's something that you have to get personal with, and you have to be honest with yourself.
Yes. This is the biggest. Be honest with yourself. No one is judging, no one is listening.
And so all of that's to be said that we, even though we're looking for the catalyst for change, we have to be ready for it, right? We have to be ready to accept it. And you might be in a bad place right now. Maybe you're in a good place, but you think you can be better. I encourage you to say, you know what, let me do a check-in, right? To look at all the areas and facets of your life and say, can it be better? I think of the artist Bob Ross. He was an artist and he had a show. He would do all of these wonderful paintings in 30 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on the show. Sometimes when he was painting, I said, he's done, but he wasn't. He had the sky, he had the grass, he had the mountains, but then he'll put a tree, maybe he'll put a bridge. And I'm thinking, where did this come from? I thought the picture looked beautiful with just the sky and the grass. And he put in all these embellishments that made the picture so much more meaningful and full. And that can be life. Life can be full. And sometimes we fill our life with things that we think are going to bring us a better picture. We think we're going to need this car, we're going to need these clothes, we're going to need this jewelry. And the only thing it's doing is taking away from the beauty of what the picture is and was. So we have to get clear on the things that are taking away from the beautiful picture of what life can be. And we have to get clear. And the best way I found is to get some help from a coach, a guide, a mentor, someone who can look on and at your blind spots, because we all have them. We all have these areas where maybe we don't feel confident in something. And so you get someone who says, even though you don't feel confident, I know you can change. I remember when I was, being a student teacher, and I said I couldn't sing, or I couldn't do something, and my cooperating teacher would say, "That's poppycock," and he would say, "You can do it." And so just that little nudge, someone, a mentor for him, or for me, he was my mentor. He gave me what I needed. And so I encourage people to find a, person that is going to be that person that says, hey, you have these thoughts in your head that are not benefiting you. Let's get rid of them because I can see the potential, right? You want a person who's not going to only be your biggest cheerleader, but can see the potential that maybe you're trying to hide or maybe that you just can't see yet because it's in your blind spot. So, all of that's to be said is that, our conversation today is one of opportunity, is one of growth, is one that we can change from our current circumstance. And it is all able to be done in time, maybe, right? As you said, success might not come to you day one, but in time it will. So we have to give ourselves the intention. And so as we begin to wrap up, Zoya, I would love to get some final words from you. So you can say anything you want. And then, of course, please tell the audience where they can find you.
Oh my God, that is beautiful conversation. I would like to say to everyone, please don't listen to anyone. They're lying to you. They're judging you through their own limiting beliefs. You're beautiful soul. You're good enough. You're talented enough. And love yourself the way you are. Thank you for having me. And you can find me on Instagram and YouTube. It's ZY X Elite Woman. And my website is the same, zylitewoman.com. Any questions you have, and maybe you disagree with something. Let's talk. Let's have this conversation because each of us has our own opinion and each of us have the full right to say that loud. With all my love, with all my respect, thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. And I'll make it easy for everyone. All the links are going to be right down below. So I encourage you to reach out to Zoya to learn more about how she helps people, maybe her story. If you heard anything interesting she said that maybe you're looking for clarification on, or maybe to dive deep in, because maybe what she said resonated with you so well. Because there will be so many naysayers in your life and in the world, and they might believe that you can't do something. They will impose their own limits and anchors on you. But you are the person that gets to decide to either trust yourself fully or to doubt everything you do. I encourage you to instill your mind with trust, with vigor, with ambition, that life can be beautiful and it can be fulfilled. It begins with you. And so I do want to thank you again, Zoya, for coming on, spending some time talking about your work, and then, of course, for sharing your story and then helping people with theirs.
Thank you.